Hello there. Welcome back to the Getting to After podcast. My name is Chatone Morrison. And as you can see, I'm by myself today. My co-host is taking care of herself. Sometimes we need that extra self-care, but I am here because we're going to talk about weight today. And I wanted to make sure that even though I was flying solo, that I showed up for you guys. Now listen, one of the things that we've talked about so many times here is as a midlife mama, what does it look like to take care of yourself? And sometimes we forget that that means not necessarily disappointing somebody else, but it does mean that we have to take care of ourselves and communicate the reasons why. And I thought this was a great topic for today because we're going to talk about a few things about our weight. Now, listen, I know that many people spend a lot of time over the last couple of days eating a lot, like making sure they got it all in. And even for those of us like myself who don't necessarily hold these different days as sacred or holy or even special days, we do a lot of eating when we're off. Let's face it, we do. We get a lot of eating in, right? So you may be worried about your weight. Well, today we're not talking about the weight that's on your body. We're talking about the weight that's on your mind, on your heart, and what you're carrying along with you in a spiritual sense, because that weight is a whole lot heavier than the weight on your body. Now, one of the things that I've done for a long time is I've counted things like gratitude and affirmations, and of course, tapping as ways to make life easier, as ways to make life better, as ways to release the pressure and release some of that pressure cooker that we're living in. But at the same time, life still lifes every day. I mean, am I wrong? Or does life still life? I think it still lives. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to introduce you, if you've never seen it before, I'm going to introduce you to my book. Morgan absolutely loves my book. She's used it for several years now. The book came out in 2020. It is still available, and we're going to be giving you some special deals on how you can get it today, as part of a deal. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. And I wanted to come out this morning and share with you some information about how you can utilize the extra weight in your life to push you in the direction where you need to go. So when we first start thinking about, physical weight, right? As women, especially in midlife, things start to expand, things start to grow, and those are not the things we want. Right. When we start thinking about our personal growth, when we start thinking about, our finances, we start thinking about our relationships getting bigger and richer and, fatter, we're like, yes, this is what we want. When we're thinking about our bodies, we're like, oh no, I don't want that. And believe it or not, our mind doesn't, it's like, well, wait, we can get fat in some ways, but we can't fat in others. Like what's going on? There's a confusion there. We don't want our minds to be confused about what's good for us. So for me, I had to take the word fat, which was always like a 4-letter, curse word in my household. It's funny because growing up, it was one of those words that, just really made me, Gen Xer, it was one of those playground cuss words. It was one of those words that made me feel so less than. I don't know if you had that same experience. I do know that it's still used that way. Now, we will talk about that on another day, but it's still used that way. It's still used in TV. Women who are larger are still the butt of big jokes, are still, looked down upon. They're never the love interest or rarely. And now with the advent of so many weight loss drugs, even though there was a body positivity movement that was going full force and on the way, suddenly now it's going back the wayside again. It's like, take this drug, take the shot, lose the weight and be better. As I said, I'm not going to go there today. I'm not going there. I promise you. But I'm going to talk about this emotional weight, because this emotional weight that sometimes comes on us is one of those things that makes it really difficult to move forward. And when you're not moving forward, it's not that you're standing still, it's that you're going backwards. And now, because today is like the first Monday of the last month of 2024, I don't know where it went. It feels like we just got started, but because it is the very last month of 2024, you may be starting to think about, well, I've been carrying this heavy weight all year long. I've been carrying this load all year long. How do I get rid of it, Chatone? Like it's not working. Listen, this entire podcast, our entire process is about being able to let go of emotional weight, being able to get emotionally free. And of course, emotions are a part of us and they're not bad. There's nothing wrong with them. But what happens is they can cause obstacles. They can cause doors to close. They can cause, places where we can't get over the bridge, ergo our logo, where we feel stuck, where we feel like we're in heavy traffic, where we feel weighted down, and those things do not help you. Of course, we advocate tapping because it works so well to alleviate emotional weight. It does. Like, I'm just telling you right now. But there's other things that you can do also throughout your day. Now, last week we were talking a lot about what happens when you're visiting people, family, friends, people that maybe have perpetrated harm, whether that's mental, physical, emotional harm, financial harm, and then you have to spend time with them. And it happens to all of us. You know, you can't always shut everyone out. Sometimes those are people that you don't necessarily want to shut out. You want to be with them, but it's like they're a little bit harmful, just a little bit. And you're just like, I can take an hour or two, I can take dinner, but I can't take, a week vacation. But what happens is we still need to take care of ourselves in certain ways. And if we don't, there's always going to be an issue. That's where, kind of my book comes in and this methodology. This is something that Morgan and I both use inside of our tapping circles, something we use inside of our tapping coaching programs, because it is so important to not just tap, but to also do things along with it. So if I could just describe for you what this looks like is, and through my book, one of the things that we always do journaling. Now, we're going to be introducing to you a couple of other ways that you can do journaling as well. But I want you to make sure that if you don't have this book, you can still grab it. I'll make sure it's in the description box. You can grab it. But I'm going to tell you one of the things about this is it is a 25-week plan to focus attention and take time. That's what FATT stands for. We're not talking about your waistline. We're not talking about your hips. We're not talking about your legs, thighs, upper arms, things that shake. We're not talking about that. We're not at all. We're talking about focusing attention and taking time, because that is what actually helps you to alleviate the weight. Now, several years ago, I created this method for myself of grabbing 3 to 5 things a day and writing it down. We're talking before my kids were born, over 20 years ago. When people weren't really talking about gratitude, it was something that I knew that I needed because things were not going well. They weren't going well at work. I wasn't getting what I wanted. My relationship was okay, but it wasn't perfect. And I was like, how can things be better even for myself? Wasn't totally in love with me either. Nothing, if I felt like, it's kind of like mediocre. And mediocrity is not what I was after. I was after something much bigger, something much more elevated, something much more excellent, but it was mediocrity all day long. And that's not what I wanted. So I took a journal and I just started writing 3 to 5 things a day, 3 to 5 things a day. And it was like more like paragraphs. It was kind of like journaling, but not exactly. But what it enabled me to do was I had to think during the day of things that were powerful, things that were lovely, things that were poignant to me, or little tiny things. Like one that I wrote down a couple weeks ago is I saw a woman on a train platform in Virginia, actually. Oh, no, I was in Chinatown. I saw a woman, a grandmother with her little daughter or granddaughter on the train platform. And she was showing her granddaughter the train as it was coming and telling her to identify the lights and the colors that she was seeing. And actually, I was a little nervous because she was like leaning right over with the baby. And I was like, what are you doing? The little girl was about 3 years old. But it was such a sweet moment between grandmother and granddaughter. And it was one of those things that I wrote down because it's one of those things that stay with me all day. It gave me a smile, even for a hot second. Do you know that when you decide to smile, it's a decision. It's a decision to smile, not the fake smiles, not the stuff that you smile for no reason, but even those do have an impact. But I'm talking about those smiles that really bring the endorphins up. It makes a huge difference when you'll be willing to do that. And so I'm all about that life. Those are the things I'm looking for. So when I started this over 20 years ago, I said, I want to be able to find ways that I can celebrate in my day. I really wasn't finding gratitude journal. There was one book that I found called like 1,000 Reasons to Have Joy, something like that. I got to remember what that book was. It's somewhere on my bookshelf. And I got that book and I loved it. I love the idea of the listing, but it wasn't somewhere that I could participate. I said, I want to be able to participate in this. And so ergo, I started doing this gratitude every single day, this thankfulness, this focusing attention and taking time on momentary things that made me feel good. It could be as small as like the way that the tea water came in and I watched the steam look like it was going into, some kind of pattern, or looking at clouds, sky, thinking about my prayers, different things that enabled me to feel completely fantastic, if even for one moment. And many times it doesn't seem like it matters. I mean, have you ever tried it? Have you thought, if I do this for just a minute, maybe it can change up my mindset. Tapping is the same way. You do this little bit of tapping and it's amazing what happens just by going through the tapping transformations, taking the time for yourself, a few minutes to do it. The body responds really quickly. you won't even know the body's responded, but about 10 minutes later, you say, I feel pretty good. And so to me, marrying these things together works so well. So let me just share with you how this works, okay? Because this idea of getting to after and also focusing attention and taking time and tapping, they all work together. So in this particular book, and I'm going to read to you, I love this part. It's talking about discovering, considering, taking your fat and happy moments, and then making these key reflections and notes. So there's really places for you to do all of that inside the book. It is kind of a big book because I wanted you to have space. I wanted you to be able to write in it. I wanted you to be able to give. People love giving this as gifts, and they love getting it as a gift because it's pink, it's pretty, but it's great for writing in because there's so many great places to take notes. As you're moving along in your journey. So I just want to read for you how it goes. So each week there's a key. So it's a great place to start. I would, a lot of people decide to start in January, but I think it's a great place to start even at the end of the year because you get a jump start on this idea of resolutions and making big goals for next year. It starts wherever you are. And you could start your goals in the middle of the day on Wednesday. People don't think about it. They think they have to wait. They have to make big vision boards and wait until January. Vision boards are awesome. January is fantastic, but today's good too. Right now, today, December, it's good right now. And so each week is separated into 25 weeks, 25 keys. And one of the things, instead of being worried about your physical weight today or how many pounds you might have gained by doing a little too many cookies over the weekend, be thinking about how you can lose emotional weight that's actually going to weigh you down and keep you back from what your goals are. And so the very first key, so they are broken down. You can see this. They're broken down into keys. And the first key really fits in line with a lot of people have been thinking about over the month of November, which is appreciation, gratefulness, and so forth. And so this one is talking about the simplicity of appreciating little things. So I'm going to read to you key one. Appreciating little things, simplicity, basics, the little everyday pleasures that are often overlooked. These moments are what make life great. There are many big things in our life that you cannot control, but you can control how you see your world. That's what Fat and Happy is all about. What will change when you focus attention and take time? So with all of this self-care movement that's gone on, with all of the, introspecting that's gone on, a lot of people journal and things like that, unfortunately, we don't stick with it. Even I've worked with people that love to write their affirmation. They write them 10 or 25 times. They do the scrolls each day, different things that they do in order to keep their mindset on point. I believe firmly that if you look in your environment can change how you feel. So right now, I'm going to tell you some of the things that I see that you can't see. They're in front of the camera. For example, I love push pins. So I have a big board over here. I love push pins, but I don't want just regular push pins. I get a lot of joy out of having push pins that are clear, like lucite push pins with gold points. Now that seems really silly. I love them. So every time I put them above my camera, because I'm always recording, and when I'm recording and I see those little push pins, it brings me a little joy. It's small. It's not a big thing. Look around as you're listening right now. Maybe you're listening to this while you're driving. Maybe you're listening to this as work with a little headphone in, right? What's in your environment? Maybe you're listening to this while you're rocking your baby, right? Maybe you're an older mom and you're rocking your baby right now, and maybe she or he's going to sleep a little bit and you're listening to this podcast. What is it about that baby's face that really gets to you, that makes you feel so amazing? Capture it, lock it, and don't forget to write it down later. So here's a couple of ways for you to get into this discovery. A few ways to get into this discovery so that you feel really good about finding these moments for yourself. So what happens is that each week you have a key, and then here we get into kind of like questions. So you can think about doing these each day. So there's actually 6 questions for each key. So you can do something every single day of the week. You don't have to think about doing something for 30 minutes or 40 minutes. You can do this in 5 minutes. You can do it in less than 5 minutes. So let's look through day one. If this was, day one of, your keys for success, the first thing is to find a quiet spot for this exercise. So think about where you can go. Or right now, if you want to do the exercise, I know you may not have the book. If you have the book, grab your book. If you haven't done it in a while, go get your Fat and Happy book, because I know a lot of our followers have it. So number one would be to find a quiet spot for the exercise. And then for a moment, sit in complete silence. What do you hear? When you sit in complete silence, you right away slow your nervous system down. We are running, we're running. What happens? The cortisol goes up. The cortisol goes up. The belly gets bigger, right? You start to get heavy. You're weighted down because the cortisol is running up. I should know my cortisol many times is way off the charts. And the only way to bring it down is through tapping, but not just tapping anywhere, tapping in a quiet place, bringing myself down. So many things that I do in order for healing and wellness, along with that quiet, that work really well in order to do things like bring the cortisol down and bring the endorphins up. But one of the things to do is sit in a quiet space. So we're just going to, for like 30 seconds. For 30 seconds, we're just going to sit in quiet. And I really want you to just stay with me. You're like, Chatone, what's going on? I want you to just be silent for like 30 seconds and see what you hear. All right. So I'm going to set a little timer for us because I think it's important. Siri, set a timer for 30 seconds. Did you hear that? Big bang, my book fell. Siri, set a timer for 30 seconds. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, how did that feel? How'd that feel? Did you slow down for 30 seconds? It's so powerful. Imagine if you did that every hour. Give yourself just half a minute or 1 minute. So 59 minutes, you do what you're doing, and 1 minute an hour, you slow down completely. Allow your nervous system to slow all the way down. Imagine what that would feel like. Your body would thank you so much. Okay, so you're going to find your quiet place, first of all. And then what I want you to do, and a lot of people over the last few days, they may have had days off and they did a little bit of this. Let's do it again. Think about your family, friends, and your environment. Who or what is the one thing that you're most grateful for at this very moment? Be specific. Who is it? Who or what is the thing you're most grateful for? If you were to bring it up, like really conjure it up to your mind and really just think about it for a second. I mean, just really another 30 seconds or so, take it for yourself, thinking about who is most important in your life. What's most important in the environment where you live? What do you love? Maybe you have bamboo outside in the yard. Maybe like here in Maryland, it got cool over the weekend, but it was a beautiful cool with the sun coming through the trees. And as maybe at sunrise, you're like, wow, it just looks amazing. Or at sunset last night, maybe you're like, wow, this is so beautiful. What are those things? Because when you will sit down and you will really appreciate them, whether it's morning, afternoon, during your workday, after your workday, on your workout, after your workout, before bed, it almost doesn't matter. There are certain times of day that sometimes are better, but it almost doesn't matter. When you're willing to do this, do you know that you will unleash emotional weight? There's something that happens when you think about the people that you love. The smile comes to your face. Morgan and I were working together over the weekend, and it was amazing because we were doing some work with our mentor, very, very heavy work. Hopefully we're going to be able to tape and tell you about some of it. Amazing. But when we were asked to conjure up people that we love, especially those who have passed away, instead of tears, you know what happened? Smiles. Huge, big smiles. I mean, the teethy ones that go all the way to the back. Why? Because when you're able to conjure up those memories, those people that were so important, when you're able to conjure up those thoughts of the things that you love the most, the things that make you feel grounded, that make you feel happy, it's actually very lightening. So I want you to try that. Now, this is just for today. That's just key one. That's the first point of key one. We're appreciating little things. Who or what is the one thing that you're most grateful for in this very moment? Put it in your mind. Think about it for a second. If you have the book, you're going to go to key one and you're going to write it down. You're going to write it down. It's powerful. Go ahead and write it down. You're going to love this exercise. And I'm actually going to tape one of these a day for you. I'm going to release one a day so that you can do the work. The other videos will be much shorter, but I want you to have the opportunity to do this work because it's so powerful. There's a lot of books out there. There's a lot of journal books out there, and they take you through prompts, and it's the same prompt every single day. This is not like that. This is going to take you through different things. This book is a whole workshop. This book is a whole coaching course. This is like working with me one-on-one. One-on-one. Okay. So when we work in this book through our tapping circles, we do work with some of what's in here, but then we also then tap on those things. So sometimes when you're thinking about the people that are most important to you, maybe they have passed away, or maybe there's some angst in the relationship. Even though they're most important, there's some problems. And what happens at that moment is that's when you go ahead and you start tapping. So you would go ahead and tap on the side of the hand while you think about that person. And maybe as you bring up their name or their, the idea about them, or, how you're feeling about them, maybe there's some anger there behind it. And so you go ahead and bring that feeling to the top. It's negative. It's dark. It doesn't feel like something you want to bring to the top. By doing this, when you bring it to the top, it's really doing something powerful for your body. And then you'd say something like, even though, and go ahead and repeat after me. Go ahead and tap with me. Even though I'm feeling uneasy about my relationship with, I'm just going to make up a name, Julie. I don't have a Julie in my life that I have uneasiness with. I'm just making up a name. Even though I have uneasiness with Julie, and I'm not sure if this relationship is going the way I want it to go, I love her, but she hurt my feelings this weekend. And I love her, but it makes me so guilty when I'm not happy with her. And even though I feel these things, and I'm not sure if I even want to call her to apologize or find out what it is that she wants from me, I love and respect myself. Even though I'm feeling this way, I'm going to allow those feelings about how I'm upset with her, how I don't really trust her right now, how she hurt me or disappointed me. I'm going to allow those to coexist with peace because I deserve peace. So even though I feel all those things, I also love and respect myself and allow myself this quiet moment for peace. And then take a deep breath in and let it out. Now, maybe you substituted somebody else's name. Maybe you substituted another situation. But I promise you that if you do this work, right away, what happens to me, and I was doing this for you guys, right? I feel the chills because one of my body's release mechanisms, the way that I release stress, is through chills. I get chills all over my body. People don't think, where did chills come from? I'm not cold. Chills don't come from just being cold. Yes, that happens because the blood is coming to the surface to warm you up. But chills also happen for other reasons. When emotions get involved, when emotions are either brought all the way to the fore, when they're being released, a lot of times they're being released through certain physical responses. It's very powerful what happens. And so when you go ahead and decide, oh yeah, I'm going to focus attention and take time. I'm going to give myself 30 seconds every hour. I'm going to give myself time to breathe. I'm going to take 5 minutes and look at my environment. I'm going to find things to be grateful for, or find things that bring me joy, or find silly things. I mean, when my kids were small, I write down things like, the kids were outside collecting acorns today, and we were throwing them at each other. It's a simple memory. You often, I know for most women, we scrapbook, we have pictures. Most pictures, unfortunately, now they end up in our phones, which is unfortunate because then, you won't really scroll through all of them. I should know I have about 10,000 on my phone. Don't make me go there. But what happens is that when we take these snapshots in our brain and then we write them down, you tend to remember them more, and they're worth remembering. So how do you stop being worried about your body weight, the size of your arms, the size of your belly, the size of your hips? If you start remembering what's the most important, focusing on the most important things, tapping transformations, because this is how we release weight that we don't need. One of the things that Morgan and I are very set on when we're tapping with our clients and working through tapping transformations with them is, what is the thing holding you hostage? What's holding you hostage? There's always something holding you hostage. It may be a person. It may be a job. It may be a physical ailment, a chronic illness. It could be a really difficult relationship with your mom, with your sister, with your husband. There's always a little something holding you hostage. It may be you don't like how your skin looks. It may be that you don't like that you've developed alopecia, or like in my case, that your brows have fallen out because you have thyroid disease, right? Whatever it is, it could be small. And sometimes as women, we don't allow ourselves space to feel bad because we're so busy being in toxic positivity. Morgan and I are going to be talking about that this month as well. I love positivity. I am the princess of positivity. I do believe that you can release your negativity, share positivity in your brain, your business, and your big, beautiful life. But guess what? Toxic positivity, no toxic positivity. You have to allow yourself time to rest, to regroup, to reset, to reform, to rejuvenate. It's necessary. You have to allow yourself emotional exercise, emotional self-care, whether that's tapping or journaling or talking it out or getting in one of our circles. You deserve that. And every time you say no to yourself, every time you allow someone else to say no to you or give you so many yeses that you're like, "Oh, okay, okay, but it's not what you want to do," you're bringing up that cortisol. You worried about your weight? Take care of your emotional weight first. Taking care of that emotional weight first, and then you'll have the room and the space and the bandwidth and the self-love to take care of the physical weight. I have always been a big person. And because I did not take care of certain parts of me, they were saying like, I don't want to take medicine. I just feel bad. It gives me an emotional headache taking more medicine, that I actually missed out on the fact that I actually really needed it for my thyroid. And so I blame myself for that. I wish I had done a better job, but now I have to release it because what else can it do? It's only going to make me worse. Mentally, it's not going to allow my body to heal the way I need it to heal if I'm busy blaming myself for a mistake I made. It's a mistake, but it's done. So in conclusion today, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about these most important people, the environment, who do you love, who do you need to talk to, what person or place or thing or environment that you have that you're like, man, without that, and write it down. If you don't have this book, you can get it. You can get it on Amazon again. I think the link is bit.ly/fat and happy book. The fat has 2 T's. It doesn't have the periods. All right. It stands for focused and take time. And this week we're working on appreciating little things. So come on back tomorrow. I will be giving you another installment where you'll be able to come on in and go ahead and do a little bit of tapping with me, and also come right in here and think about what can I journal about today. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about, this is a good one. It's an important one. Don't miss tomorrow. Don't miss tomorrow, right? I hope you're having an amazing Monday. Make it a great day. Happy December. Less than 31 days to the end of the month. Whoa. Steep. All right. Peace. See you soon.